Redmi Note 9S review.
So let me start with this to avoid any confusion. This and this, what you're watching on, this is the Redmi Note 9S. In India, this is the Redmi Note 9 Pro. But as released globally, this is the Redmi Note 9S that was released with the Redmi Note 9 series and the Redmi Note 9 and the Redmi Note 9 Pro. True to its Note name, it's actually a huge phone, which isn't great for my tiny hands and reaching corners of the phone with my tiny thumb, but it's a comfortable size for those who prefer bigger phones. My unit comes in blue and it just has a pretty and shiny back. Also smudgy, but still so pretty. Gorilla Glass 5 back and all, it doesn't really feel like glass like traditional glass back phones. It also has slightly curved edges, which help give it a better in-hand feel. And also that beautiful shine. Basically, this phone doesn't feel cheap at all, considering it's a very cheap phone for what it is. Anyway, let's talk about that screen because so many people have asked about this from my unboxing. Basically, the contention is that it isn't a good screen, especially considering direct competitors to this phone. Realme 6 video coming soon. Actually, it's not even that. There were even people asking me about screen issues. So, first of all, I didn't notice anything on dark mode and this very cool Bojack wallpaper I have on. So, I went to a dark room and maxed the brightness. I barely see a bleed. So I switched to light mode for y'all and did the same. Honestly, if that's a bleed, I don't really notice or mind. It also seems a little nitpicky considering that that's just how LCD screens work with light and all that. I mean, it's not the best screen on a phone, meaning it's not bad, and I've seen better phone screens, but also people have paid way more for those phones, so yeah. I did enjoy Netflixing on this. In my 3-day binge of all 16 glorious hours of Itaewon class. The only issue I found was how my ill-placed hands could muffle sound by covering the bottom speakers. Otherwise, it's all good. By the way, those speakers can get loud. When you're not covering them, of course. There are tiny details about this phone that I really like. The side-mounted fingerprint scanner, for example, an addition essential in this new mask-wearing world where the face scanner isn't enough. And a good enough compromise on a budget device considering in-display scanners are a thing for more expensive phones. I love that there's an IR blaster on this because I actually use it as a remote on appliances. More on that in my unboxing vid, I'll link below. I also love the short video camera that's designed specifically for social media use. And yeah, shooting will allow you to use the native camera app with all the bells and whistles, aka all normal camera modes, filters, slow-mo, fast forward, and more, i.e. this really cool kaleidoscope function. It shoots max 15-second clips even if you shoot slow-mos or sped up clips. Then it gives you the option to share on Facebook, IG, YouTube, Twitter, and even the choice to do them as posts, stories, as messages, or on different Facebook pages. Another thing I'm sure a lot of people would celebrate, there is a headphone jack. This phone has thus far been quick and responsive. Also, if you want to check out the actual specs on this phone, more info on that in my unboxing video, link up here. I've leveled up my garage on Asphalt 9 twice on this thing. Yes! And now on to my cute game discovery for this review. A fighting game called Skullgirl, which honestly I'm like, what is going on here? Look at my hands! But it's a fun versus game with crazy characters. There's a game turbo feature, which is basically their game mode. It also automatically turns on for games and it gives you this in-game shortcut panel. The biggest selling point on this thing would be the battery. There was a day of normal use where I unplugged at 11 a.m. and it died at 10:30 p.m. The next day. That's more than 24 hours. What? And I've used this phone not just for leisure, but also for productivity.
Because my laptop broke. Long story, but I've used this phone to type scripts, shot lists, research.
And on that particular day, I unplugged it at 10 a.m., used it non-stop the whole day, and it lasted me until 3 p.m. the next day.
Granted that I've just been at home because of the lockdown, stay at home folks, and I know that using data on a phone would probably mean that the battery drains faster, but those are crazy results considering I've used other phones while at home also, and I've never gotten close to that result.
The quad camera setup on the back of the phone make for reliable cameras in normal shooting conditions. The main 48 megapixel camera uses pixel binning, also known as taking all those megapixels in a camera to create a smaller, more detailed image. You get? And that, folks, is basically the point of all these megapixels. For better photo results. And better photo results they are. There's AI that detects what you're taking photos of and saturates everything too. There's also a dedicated 48 megapixel option if you prefer literal bigger photos. There's a wide-angle camera that can shoot good photos, great for IG sceneries, general landscapes, and getting more dogs in one picture. It also has distortion correction, which can clearly make a difference. Look at that ceiling. The option on the camera gives you a 2x zoom, which can be okay at best, but right off the bat, you know that these aren't super zoom cameras. As you go into 10x, you know most def that they aren't super zoom cameras, which is okay, we didn't expect that at this price point, but blurry takes or not, I like the option anyway.
I usually use this mode when I'm trying to prove a point or to just show something, so they're usually not going on my Instagram, so I don't really mind. Aww, cutie! Hello!
What impressed would be the macro shooter. But it's a little annoying that you have to go into settings to turn it on, like I nearly forgot this was here. But lo and behold, enjoy these photos of normal things close up. Portrait mode on the rear camera lets you adjust blur as you shoot, and even after shooting. There are even choices for what type of background blur you want, including a light speed blur, cause why not? Also, there's a movie mode, portrait mode, that allows for, well, portraits, but then you can zoom in just like macro shots. Okay, aside from the cinematic stills, I honestly don't know what this mode is for, but ever since I've discovered this on a Mate 2 phone, that is then carried over to the Xiaomi Mate 2 Special Ed phone. I have a video on that. I used it to take tiny details of my face or makeup. The very first time I tried this on the Mate 2 phone, I shot my really nice fake lashes because no other phone I had could focus on them properly. And true to the tradition, I could still do that. Well, minus the fake lashes this time, of course. I'm still impressed by the focus and the bokeh on this mode, and I love it. Great selfies are achievable with that punch hole, even when your face is not up for it, cause fresh selfie mode. Just don't overdo this beauty mode. Portrait mode is available on here too, and it can recognize more than one person, which my brother probably wasn't happy about in this shot because I said the camera will blur his face anyway. Not sorry.
You can shoot with the front-facing cam on 1080p 30 FPS. This is a sample of that. That's good enough for vlogging, and that's actually the settings I export my videos on. Again, there are different beauty modes and filters available here, and this is the live beauty mode actually, although that does downgrade your video to 720p. That's good enough for social media posts and stories.
The rear cameras can shoot videos on all three modes. I'm not a big fan of the quality of the zoomed in video though. If you look closely, it looks like it's somehow pixelated or there are lines. It's just the video isn't too smooth. The main camera shooter can do 1080p 60 FPS. Amazingly, it can even do 4K 30. The other two cameras can do 1080p, 30 FPS. There's image stabilization on here that makes a tiny difference, and it's turned on by default. It's not the best we've seen on a camera. There's a slow-mo mode, but it's the type where you can't adjust settings. Like, only the last quarter of each clip is slowed down at 90 FPS, the slowest slow-mo mode this phone can give you. Not as much as a fan of this because I always end up missing the moments I want a slow-mo, and after each slow-mo clip, the phone sort of needs a little time to process before you can shoot a new clip. Which is a little annoying because you usually want to shoot slow-mo when fast things are happening, so yeah. All in all, this phone has good capable shooters, especially for photos on the main rear camera. There are limitations, but factor in that price point, it becomes an even more awesome smartphone camera deal. The Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S is definitely one of the devices out in the market right now that brings it.
Bring what, Priscilla? Bring it. Right, but what is it?
Like, cheaper phones have been getting so good, and this is one great example of that fact. There are certain compromises, like there is no NFC, and that would have been a great thing to add on, especially in the time that we need contactless payments, and the fact that the Redmi Note 9 base model and the Redmi Note 9 Pro has NFC, or they could have added better zoom cameras. Okay, I'm okay with the zoom cameras. I'd really rather the wide and the macro than the zoom. Or they could have added on better speakers, a better screen. But really, for that price tag, I can't complain. The Redmi Note 9S has met my expectations and more. Right, that was it for today's review. Let me know what you think on the comments down below. If you want to see how I use my tech on a daily basis, or if you want to see what gadgets I'm featuring next on this channel, you can find me on social media. That's @CisaSaid. Until next time, you guys. Bye!